Welcome to another Superior Health Wednesday. Joined as always by Jim LaJoy, Executive Director with Superior Health Foundation. This morning we have a special guest from 906 Adventure Team, Todd Paquette. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Morning.
morning.
So we're talking about grants at work here today, how they work and how they're being used. So Jim, if you would kind of start us off today, talk about the relationship with 906 Adventure Team and what you all have been able to do so far.
Well, thank you, Ben. It's really been a terrific relationship with 906 Adventure Team and with Todd. Todd several years ago approached me. We ended up having, I think, a breakfast or lunch together, and he told me about his vision and what he wanted to do to get kids out on bikes, give them the opportunity to, experience that kind of camaraderie and really had a vision that really captivated my attention. I saw the zest and the enthusiasm that he had for it because, we live in this world right now where there are so many kids that are clinging to their iPhones and clinging to computers and stuck at home not doing things. Well, Todd wanted to do something about that. So Todd and his team and his volunteers have really made a concentrated effort to get youth out on bikes, make them feel good about themselves, provide that self-confidence. So, we awarded an initial grant for helmets, and since that time, we've awarded 3 additional grants, and just under $25,000 in grants to kind of help get them off the ground and get them moving, so to speak. So it's been a terrific partnership.
Great. And Todd, from your perspective, just kind of walk us through not necessarily the same thing, but how has this relationship been for you in the grant process up to this point?
Well, without Jim and the board from the Health Foundation, we probably wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation today, frankly, because when we, in the first few years, let's call it 4 or 5 years that Adventure Team existed, it was really sort of a passion project that I had on the side while I was working full time here with Border Grill. And we reached a point of critical mass where it became very evident that I couldn't do both anymore. It was too much responsibility. And I think that's really what ended up triggering the conversation with Jim. And the initial grant helped actually fill a gap that we had in our, let's say, in our budget, because in the first 5 years, we were bringing in money through the events that we run, and we gave it away. There was no plan for this to ever actually employ anybody. So when we got to a point where I needed to make a decision one way or the other, we needed a little bit of help through that first year. So we had to show beyond the first year, we were going to be economically viable, which we felt we would be, but we needed to get to that point first. So that was a huge step. And again, without Jim and the board and the foundation, we're not here today because we would have had to have shut it down. It just was too much work. And then, since then, when you're able to work with an organization like the foundation to get funding for equipment, extremely important equipment, such as helmets, and the bikes that some of these kids need to ride because they either don't have a bike or they don't have a bike that is safe on the trails. And then in addition to that, the radios and leader packs that ensure that our volunteers are properly equipped to take the kids into the woods. Having that relationship with the foundation has been huge, because if you were to take that money that we were able to partner with Jim and the foundation, if we had to go find that, if we had to go chase that in the community, really what happens is for every dollar we have to go and try to find, it takes away from the time that we spend on the mission. And I really hope that there's a connection that people can make there to understand the importance of what Jim and the foundation is doing in the UP. It's critical because that funding allows us to spend more time with the kids.
And then you've made a lot of really good points in there. And just thinking about the mission of Superior Health Foundation and your mission, because they connect health-centered nonprofits with funding. And helmets make sense, and having all that safety equipment makes sense. But, this wouldn't be the first thing that at least came to my mind, but I'm not in that role of this is a health-centered project. This is all focused on a lot of different health aspects. If both of you kind of want to touch on that and how that conversation went to make sure that this fit with your mission and theirs.
Yeah, and I can start that. And that's a very good point, Ben, and very good to address this because, one of the big things for us and our grants committee, and Todd knew this right from the get-go when we had our first meeting, is that, to make that connection. How is this going to improve the health and well-being, both physical health and mental health for children? And in that discussion, Todd was able to make that case to me very, very succinctly and very positively. And I encouraged him when he put his grants together to use that same approach, because at the end of the day, when you're getting kids out of their home and getting them off computers, and that's an addictive part of our society now, to be able to get out on trails and have that physical activity, there's so many benefits to that. The endorphins, just feeling good about yourself. But often overlooked is the mental health side of it. And Todd was very, very cognizant of that. And he had shared with me, stories about, we want to be able to capture those kids who may have gotten cut from the basketball team, who maybe were told, you're not good enough to play in a team sport. Well, you're good enough to ride a bike, and you're good enough to be part of what we're doing. And when he shared that vision, I jumped all over it, because one of our keys and one of the areas that we certainly like to concentrate on is our kids. They're our future. And anytime you can have a positive experience and put that out there to enable them to improve their health and well-being is a good thing. And every single thing that he told me, he's followed through with, and keeps in contact with me constantly about things that are going on. And that's what we want to see from those that we fund, that engagement, because it's not a one-time deal. It continues down the road.
So, that was really well said. Todd, do you have anything to add? Just what are some of the benefits that you've seen? How have you seen these kids transform and benefit both mental and physical health-wise through Adventure Team?
Well, this is an irrefutable and undisputable truth that humans long for a sense of belonging, feeling as though they belong to a group or a tribe, okay? And I think that this obsession and addiction that we have today to social media really helps prove that out, right? It's essentially like this loneliness that is somehow being augmented digitally. But the problem with digital media, aside from the fact that it augments many of our negative attributes, is that the connections are not deep. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that the connections are not real. But when you are able to create these experiences, such as Adventure Bike Club for kids, okay, and they come to this place and they see literally hundreds of kids and adults and their parents, there is a direct correlation to a sense of belonging, which is healthy. Okay, and then when you put these kids on mountain bikes in a uncompetitive environment, meaning we're not pitting the kids against each other, which it seems like every youth activity and youth sport, it seems like that's the accepted way of raising kids, is let's make them all compete. But we've kind of removed that and said, when you come to bike club, the only person you're competing against is yourself. And the person that you need to beat is the person that you were at the last ride. Be a little bit better than that person was. So there is this freedom that develops and just this sense of belonging. There's nothing, you can see it. If you come to bike club, and I would invite you to do it, you just need to sit there and observe the confidence and the resilience that is realized by these kids, which will, in the long run, if supported with this in an ongoing nature, they're going to be more productive in our communities. And long-term, the communities are going to benefit because of this.
And I'd love to come out there and see that in person. I've only been here for a little bit, and the whole last year kind of got in the way, but I don't want to make any more excuses, and I do want to see what you're doing in person. And I think it's important for other people to see what it is that you do. So, and I know there are a lot of other people out there that have good ideas that, have a similar health-centered, health-focused idea. If you're trying to, for the people out there that have an idea like what you're trying to do, how would you encourage them to get involved with Superior Health Foundation to put those ideas into action?
I think I had two kids actually come to my house about a month ago with their mom because they needed to come and see which bike they were going to use that we own. We needed to figure out which bike they were going to fit on. One of the kids looked at me and he said, "How long have you been doing this?" And I said, "I think it's been about 8 years." And he said, "Well, how'd you get started?" And I said, "Well, that's a great question." He said, "The way I think I got started and turned this into a job is I treated it with the same commitment, respect, and determination every day when I was a volunteer that I did my day job. I literally approached this like work. And I think anything in life, if you want to be something or do something, you need to give it your whole self and approach it like you would a job or an education or whatever it might be. And I believe if you get in front of Jim and the board and the Superior Health Foundation and you're doing something passionately and consistently with the health-centered initiative, they're going to be there to help. But you got to give it everything from the depth of your soul to make it a reality.
When you're passionate about it, you can feel it, and other people connect with and resonate with that too. So,
Absolutely.
Jim, I'm sure for you, I mean, like you said, it was once you heard his passion, that was easy to start connecting the dots and get them on the right path. So, for other people that
Yeah.
do want to do that, your encouragement to connect with you all.
No, absolutely. And I would say that if you were to spend 15 minutes with Todd and spend time with him talking about his absolute joy and commitment with doing this, there's no way you could walk away and say that's not something I want to support. There are certain folks that we deal with that have an undeniable passion and a zest for what they do, and Todd fits into that category. And he's right. If you have an idea and there's something that is percolating in your mind about a project that you would like to do, as we've talked about a number of times on this program, Ben, is that reach out to me. Send me an email, give me a call. We'll get together. We'll have breakfast. We'll have lunch. We come in, have a cup of coffee, and talk about it. And I think that's incredibly important for us. The other thing that I'd like Todd to be able to touch upon, if we could, in the remaining time that we have, remaining minutes, is if you could expound a little bit about your expansion and how you started with this and where you have grown. I think it's important for people to understand that, this started off as kind of like a Marquette County project, but since then, with the help of volunteers and a number of other people, you've grown in other communities. Can you touch on that, Todd?
Yeah. We started, it was myself and I'm going to say 5 kids back in 2014. And the numbers right now this year, so it was 1 community and then 1 coach and 5 kids. Well, if you fast forward to this year, we are now in 3 communities in the Upper Peninsula, 1 community in, I'm going to say, southwest Wisconsin, that's Eau Claire. We have gone from 1 coach to 250 across that range of communities. We've gone from 5 kids to, I'm going to say, 500 this year.
Wow.
So literally, we were looking at our numbers. We're probably dealing with a couple thousand people when you take all the kids and all the coaches and all the families that we're reaching. There's literally probably close to 2,000 folks that we're interacting with. And we have 2 employees and a ton of dedicated volunteers supporting it. This year was a big year because we actually, and I shared this with Jim, I made sure to share it with him because again, if he hadn't been there for us with the foundation, this wouldn't have happened. This year we started handling our own background checks. So we're not using a third party anymore. It's all in-house. And through the winter, we developed our own learning management system, which is basically an online training portal for volunteer coaches. COVID forced an adaptation. We used to do what was called a leadership summit, and we'd meet in person. Well, that was not possible last year, nor is that going to be possible as we continue to grow. So we needed to go virtual, and we were able to launch that this year. So again, I can't say it enough that with the foundation's support financially through these grants, we are then able to take time we would have spent going after money and then leverage that time on developing. It took literally 4 months to develop that online. If we're out having to find our next dollar that keeps us going every day, we're not doing that. So it's just, I can't say thanks enough.
Well, I think that was important to bring up, and Jim, thank you for bringing that up, because it's great to see people who are passionate about what they're doing succeeding and getting the support that they need. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on or I know it looks like you're continuing to grow. Where would you like this to be? Where would you like to, is there a point that you'd want to get to where it's like we've hit our limit, or is it just the potential just keeps going?
Listen, every community should have an adventure team. And I think it's beyond everybody, well, in this industry, in the cycling industry, the hashtag that's really popular right now is more kids on bikes. But I actually think the more kids on bikes, that's actually more of a marketing corporate slogan to sell more bikes. This program, we're by having it will help sell more bikes. That's not my goal. That's not my mission. Okay. That bike is a tool. That bike is a tool to help kids realize the freedom they have on the bike path, in the woods, and to realize their potential. I always tell the kids, whether they're 5 or 17, everything that happens on that bike today, it's on you. So if it's good, that's your victory. And if you fall on that rock, you need to get up and you need to figure out how to ride over it. So there is this sense of ownership that's developed, which I guess if I were to step back for a moment, I think a lot of times in our world today, ownership is lacking. People are not held accountable for their outcomes. So there's a variety of reasons I think this is good, and I believe in it. And I think every community should have one.
Thank you.
And the one thing that I would add, Ben, to this is Todd and his group have been tremendous with sharing videos of their children and the things that are going on. And over the years, we've gotten some unbelievable testimonials from both the youth and parents about the impact this program has made on them. And whenever I get those, I always make sure that I set aside time to really absorb them and view them, because it just brings a smile to my face to know that we were part of something uniquely special, and it didn't sit pat. It continues to grow and it continues to affect people. And when you think of what Todd just said, we started with 5 and now we're at 500. That to me is a testament to the volunteerism, the passion, and just the work that has been done behind the scenes. And we just think it's totally awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you both for the work that you're doing. I'm glad we're able to share this and either encourage more people to start their own ideas or to get involved with what's currently going on. So unless there's anything else, that's all that I had for today.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.